Fall camp is winding down and we're getting so close to the start of the regular season. We're going to be talking about a handful of players that have stood out this fall camp right here on this episode of Tide Talk Live. Alabama has now completed 2 scrimmages here in fall camp, and there's still a few practices left before the start of the season on September 3rd against Utah State. And on today's episode, we're going to be looking at a few standouts so far through fall camp. But as always, first of all, make sure you subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, and make sure you give this video a huge thumbs up. And while you're at it, jump in the comment section and answer our question of the day. Which true freshman do you think will break out this season for the Tide? Just jump in the comments and let us know who you think that might be right now. All right, let's just dive right into our list of guys and units that we think have stood out so far in fall camp from everything that we've been hearing and everything we've learned from Tuscaloosa so far. And like we said, the season is just upon us. We're just about 10 days away or so from the start of this 2022 football season for Alabama, and we're so excited here at Tide Talk Live. All right, let's just look at a handful of players that have stood out so far this fall camp. We're going to actually start on the offensive line, and we're really going to cover the entire group there. Tyler Steen at left tackle. It looks like Kendall Randolph has won the job there at left guard. Of course, that could go all the way up until kickoff against Utah State on September 3rd with Javion Cohen. But right now, the first 2 scrimmages, it's been Kendall Randolph there at left guard beside Tyler Steen. And at center, another battle, but it looks like Darian Dalcourt has won that job. Of course, he was the starting center for the majority of the 2021 season until he got sidelined with an injury. And then Seth McLaughlin stepped in and did a pretty admirable job there filling in for Darian Dalcourt. And some make the argument that he outplayed Dalcourt. But right now, it looks like Dalcourt has improved a lot. He's improved his snapping and his blocking as well. So I think he gets the start there at center. At least he has so far in the first 2 scrimmages. Then you look at right guard. It's veteran Emil Ekiyor, a guy who's just improved each and every season there in Tuscaloosa. And if this is a guy that can, if he can stay healthy, he's really going to be an impact player for the Tide along the offensive line. And then super sophomore J.C. Latham is going to be holding down the right side there for Bryce Young at right tackle, a guy who come in with super hype, and he's really starting to come into his own there at the right tackle position. And he's a guy who I think is going to be one of the best tackles in the SEC by the time this season is complete. So I think stand out for fall camp so far has just been that first group of offensive linemen and how much they have improved this offseason and look to be a better group for Alabama this fall. Kind of holding things down for Bryce Young and Jahmyr Gibbs and the rest of those skill players on the Alabama offense. Speaking of skill players, another guy who has really stood out this fall, a guy who really had a big scrimmage this last weekend, is Treyshawn Holden. He had a couple touchdowns in the scrimmage, well over 100 yards receiving. I know the stats aren't given out, but he had a big-time scrimmage this last Saturday, and he's really improved this fall, and he looks to be a guy who's going to be an impact player for Alabama. And you look at that wide receiver room, minus Jamison Williams, now minus John Mechie and Slade Bolden. They really need somebody to step up. Is it going to be Ja'Cory Brooks? Is it going to be, the Louisville transfer, Tyler Harrell? We talked about how we might need to pump the brakes on him a little bit. JoJo Earle has went down with an injury. So Treyshawn Holden has a chance to step up and be a big-time player along with guys like Jermaine Burton and Ja'Cory Brooks. And then another standout at the wide receiver position that's really happened over the last week or so since the injury to JoJo Earle in the slot is true freshman Kobe Prentice, a guy who got a late offer from Alabama in his high school career, but he has turned out to be one of the most impactful freshmen on this team, and he looks like he has won that starting slot position. Now with JoJo Earle going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks, Kobe has stepped up and made plays for this Alabama offense in the first 2 scrimmages, and it looks like I said, he has won that starting slot position and is going to be a big target for Bryce Young in this offense. And it couldn't have come at a better time. Losing JoJo Earle is not going to be easy to replace, but Kobe, like I said, has stepped up and made plays for Bryce Young in this offense in the 2 scrimmages and has really turned heads on the coaching staff, and they're really excited about what he can do this fall in Tuscaloosa. And another true freshman I want to talk about that Coach Saban's talked about him, other players have talked about him, and he's been a big talking point this offseason and that's Jahim Modis, the freshman defensive lineman from Mississippi. We all know the story. He's lost over 70 pounds since he's been in Tuscaloosa in January. You know, he was well over 400 pounds. Now he's around the 340 range. Just an incredible. It's a testament to his dedication to this team and his hard work that he's put in since January. And now it looks like he has worked his way into the rotation there along the defensive line. He has saw plenty of snaps there with the first team defense in both the scrimmages. And I think he is a guy who could work himself into the lineup. Whether he's a starter or not remains to be seen. But I do think he will see significant snaps this fall for Alabama sooner rather than later. And it just shows how much he has put in to being a great player in Tuscaloosa. Those are just a handful of guys that have really stood out this fall. Of course, you have the usual suspects. You know, Bryce Young is doing Bryce Young things. He looks even better than what he did last year as a Heisman Trophy winner. And of course, Jahmyr Gibbs, the Georgia Tech transfer at running back, he has lived up to all the hype that come with his transfer decision to come to Alabama. He looks to be RB1, and he is just a playmaker, a guy who has a chance to, you know, score anytime he touches the ball. He showed that in the spring game when he busted the 75-yard touchdown run. But it's not just at the running back position. He's possibly and most likely going to be the kick returner for Alabama in Tuscaloosa this fall. He's also got a good chance to catch a lot of passes out of the backfield. I think that's what's going to set him apart from other backs of the Nick Saban era is his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield and make plays that way. And that's just another guy for those opposing defenders to watch out for, you know, come this fall. And I'm really excited about what this offense can look like because it's going to look different. It's going to be different than going over the top with Jamison Williams and, you know, like it was last season. I think you're going to see a lot of ball distribution. I think you're going to see a lot of, you know, short to intermediate passes that may turn into big gains when you talk about throwing the ball to Kobe Prentice, throwing it out to Jahmyr Gibbs in the flats. I think you're going to see some explosive plays that way, and that's going to help the offensive line kind of transition as they work to continue to build continuity here in the first part of the season. And I think you're really going to see a different style of Alabama offense this fall than what you saw last season with Bryce Young in his first year as a starter. But like I said, he's even better than what he was last year, if you can believe it. And this Alabama offense is going to be making plenty of plays. I think you're going to see some people kind of let off the Bill O'Brien train just a little bit because I think you're going to see a different style offense. I think the offensive line has improved. I think Bryce Young has improved. I think you have a more explosive playmaker in the backfield beside Bryce Young. And I think you have more guys to distribute the ball to out wide. When you think of Ja'Cory Brooks, Jermaine Burton, Treyshawn Holden, Kobe Prentice, and if Tyler Harrell can come into his own, then that is another weapon for Bryce Young in this offense. And we haven't even mentioned Cameron Latou, who we are hearing is going to be back sooner rather than later. Now, whether or not he plays in this first game against Utah State remains to be seen, but I do expect to see him by the Texas game in week 2. So that's just another weapon for Bryce Young in this Alabama offense. But those are just a handful of standouts that I wanted to kind of go over that have really made noise this fall. The offensive line has improved. Treyshawn Holden, Kobe Prentice are making waves in the wide receiver room, and then Jahim Modis along the defensive line is really starting to stand out and make noise there as well. So those are guys we're excited about here at Tide Talk Live, and we cannot wait for the season to start here in just a few days, just a little over a week away, and we're really looking forward to that. But like we said, we're going to wrap it up now. If you're not already, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, help us reach 100 likes on this video, and please be a friend and tell a friend about our show if you like the content that we're putting out here on Tide Talk Live. And once again, answer today's question: which true freshman, do you think will make the biggest impact for the Crimson Tide this fall? Jump in the comments and let us know right now. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, roll Tide.